Okay, this is day one of the in-class solving equations work. This is from chapter 1.4. So we're going to do A, B, and C. I'm going to do A, B, and C for you. You're going to write it down on the left side of your paper. And then I'm going to have you do D, E, and F. If you've been absent, you're going to want to bring those in and show them to me so that you can get credit for it. These were the types of problems that when we did the diagnostic test, a few of you had some difficulties. There's also some more complicated ones. We'll get into those in the next few days. So we have negative t over 4 equals negative 7. This is just like negative 1/4 t equaling negative 7. So they're essentially the same problem, and if you like doing it with the fraction in front better, that's one way you can handle it. If you prefer it this way, you can handle it this way. Now, this is negative t being divided by 4, and the inverse operation from division is multiplication, so we're going to use the multiplication property of equality. Now, you could multiply both sides by 4, but then you're going to have to divide by a negative 1 to get t isolated, so I would multiply by negative 4. And you'd have negative 4 times, let's write that correctly, negative t over 4. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. And if you divide by 4 and then multiply by it, you're going to be left with t. Some students think of it as 4t. That won't work. Let's put it right over here. 4t. So if you went negative 4 times negative t, you'd get 4t over 4. And 4t over 4 can be simplified to 1, so you end up with t. So that's one way to think about it. You don't need to be that complex, but you can do that. And that equals negative 7. Now, if I multiply the left side by negative 4, I got to multiply the right side by negative 4. And so we end up with t equaling negative times a negative is a positive, 7 times 4 is 28. You should check this, not formally, it's pretty simple. You substitute in for t that 28, so you have negative 28 divided by 4. Negative by a positive is negative. 28 divided by 4 is negative 7. It comes out fine. Now this 1/3 y equals 4 is the same thing as y over, 1/3 y, yeah, is the same thing as y over 3 equaling 4. So if you prefer the method up here, you can use that. Otherwise, you can do this method on either one. They're interchangeable. So you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So in this case, you're not dividing. You have 1/3, so you multiply by the reciprocal. The reciprocal is just when you flip, or the multiplicative inverse. You can do either one. You flip it over. So 1 over 3, its reciprocal or multiplicative inverse is 3 over 1, or just 3. So you're going to go 3 times 1/3 y. If you take a third of 3, it's 1, or if you take a third 3 times, it's 1, so you end up with y. Now, if you multiply the left side by 3, you have to do the same to the right side, and 4 times 3 is 12. Again, get in the habit of circling your answers. If you take and substitute the 12 into the y position, 1/3 of 12 will be 4. And so you know that you are, in fact, correct. All right, now we're moving on to the last problem, which is negative 3x plus 6 equals negative 12. Now this is a couple step problem. It's definitely not the most complicated, and most students did get these right, but we want to make sure that you have the ability to do this. On problems like this where they're multi-step, there's no distributive property, no combining like terms here. So you would go in the reverse order of PEMDAS. So normally you do parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication, division, then adding and subtracting. Well, when you're solving an equation, you go in the reverse direction of that, and you're going to get rid of the adding and subtracting first, then the multiplying and dividing. So that's how that works. So we're going to subtract 6 first, on both sides, and subtraction property of equality. You're left with negative 3x equaling negative 12, and negative 6 is negative 18. You have negative 3 times x. The inverse operation of multiplication is division, so you're going to use the division property of equality. Divide both sides by negative 3. And negative 3x divided by negative 3 is x. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Then you can plug it in and check it. You substitute in your 6 for x. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18, plus 6 is negative 12, so it is correct. Now you are going to do the D, E, and F on your own. If you were in class, you got the credit for it. If you were absent, you will need to do them on your own and show them to me. I'll check them over for you, and then I can give you credit for that.